or Chania. The city in Greece in the north of Crete. It is located approximately in 70 kilometers to the west from Rhetimnon and in 145 kilometers to the west of Heraklion. Port on the coast of the Cretan Sea. The administrative center of peripheral unit of Chania and community. The of Chania in the periphery Crete. Till 1971 Chania was the administrative center of the island. The population of 53910 inhabitants on a census of 2011. Second largest city of the island. Area 12.564 square kilometers. After the Fourth Crusade, Crete was allocated to Boniface Monferratsky. He, in turn, sold this possession to Venetians for 1,000 silver brands. In 1204 Genoa seized Cydonia and constructed a tower on the place of the Byzantine fortress. In 1206 Genoa under leadership of the Maltese Count Enrico Pescatore beat out Venetians from the island. In 1210 Venetians seized Cydonia. In 1211 Crete passed under the power of Venetians. In 1252 settling of the territory of the modern Old City began. At Venetians the city of Chania became the residence of the rector, heads of administration of the island. The city was an important shopping center of the prospering agricultural region. First the Venetian board was severe and repressive, but as later than the relation between Cretans and Venetians improved. A contact with Venice conducted to a close interlacing of the Venetian and Cretan cultures, but the Greek population, however, kept Orthodox religion. After the basis of the Venetian fortress the city began to be called Chania. Chania, sometimes Chania. City strengthenings were strengthened, and borders of the city got modern outlines. In the 14th century Venetians constructed in Chania St. Francis's Church. After falling of Constantinople in 1453 many priests, monks and artists found a shelter in Crete. During the subsequent period in the city of Chania there was a mix of the Byzantine, Venetian and classical Greek culture. At this time many important buildings were built, written culture, music, education developed. In the 16th century Chania prospered, the trade port was reconstructed. Michel Sanicali designed defensive works. Turks occupied the city on August 2, 1645, after a 2-month siege. During a siege there were many dead, especially among Turks. The Turkish commander was upon return executed for a loss about 4,000 people. Most churches of the city were turned into mosques. Turks lived in the western quarters of the city, Castellion at Splangia Square L, where they turned Dominican Church of St. Nicolai to the main mosque. Also new mosques, such as Mosque Küçük Hasan in the harbour, were built. Also in the city the Turkish baths and fountains were constructed. In Chania there was a residence of the Turkish Pasha of Crete. During the anti-Turkish revolt of 1821 in the city there were collisions between Greeks and Turks who led to the victims on both sides. Most of the dead were Christians. The Bishop Melchizedek Despotakis was hung up on a tree for participation in a revolt. After the Halepski Pact of 1878, the Christian population acquired more rights. But after the anti-Turkish performances of 1889, a part of the privileges received by Greeks was cancelled firmly on October 26, 1889. However, disorders continued within the 1890th years. In 1898, the Ottoman Empire granted autonomy to Crete, and in 1913 it officially was a part of Greece. During this period, Turks moved from the city to Turkey. The remains of the Turkish population lived in Chania up to the Greek-Turkish exchange of the population of 1923. The city of Chania is divided into two parts: Old City and more extensive New City. The Old City is located near the Old Harbor. It was surrounded with ancient Venetian strengthenings which were based since 1538. From them remained the east and western part. The center of the modern city area near the Old City, and especially to the south. In spite of the fact that Chania was exposed to bombings during World War II, the Old City is considered the most beautiful urban area on the island of Crete, especially the remains of the Venetian harbor. The central part of the Old City called Castelli, Citadel. She is located on the small hill directly near the embankment. On the bank of the harbor, one of the few remained Chania's mosques, the Mosque Küçük Hasan, and also the Venetian arsenal is located. In the harbor of the city of Chania there is one of the oldest beacons of the world. Now it is some kind of hallmark and a symbol of the city. The basis of the economy of modern Chania is made by agriculture and tourism. The city services the Ioannis Daskalogiannis Airport. The Technical University of Crete, the biggest higher educational institution in the city, in about 2,200 students study. Also in Chania, the Mediterranean Agricultural Institute and a number of scientific institutions are located. National Research Fund of Chania. Venezuela. Mediterranean Architectural Center. Institute of an Olive and Subtropical Cultures. Literary Society, Chrysostomos. Sites. The Beacon in Chania. The Venetian Arsenal in the Old City. The Samaria Gorge, amazing geological education in the west, the island of Crete. There is in 43 km to the south from Chania on the plateau Omalos. The gorge and the territory around him are included into National Park of Lefker. Cathedral of Chania. The Monastery of the Holy Trinity, the monastery near the city. The Monastery Guberneto, other monastery on the peninsula of Akrotiri. Mosque Küçük Hasan. Museums. Archaeological Museum of Chania. Museum of Folklore. Historical Archive. Maritime Museum of Crete. City Art Gallery. Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Collection. Museum Eleftherios of Venezuela. Military Museum, branch of the Athenian Military Museum. Famous natives. Muskuri, Nana is the Greek singer. Antoniadis Emmanuel. 1791-1863. The famous participant of the Greek Revolution, is known in the Greek historiography as the fighter for independent journalism, and the journalist standing at the origins of the independent Greek press. Kounelikis Nikolaos. 1829-1869. The Greek artist grew up and studied in Russia. Danilidou Eleni, 1982. The Greek professional tennis player. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.